little say good day to you this day of your time. How are you? All right. Once again, we thank you for the co-creation of this interaction and for participating in the co-creation of the parallelogram so that you can begin to expand your awareness, your consciousness a little bit further by utilizing that particular parallel reality permission slip in whatever way, shape, or form you need to. Let us continue this transmission by opening the dialogue up to your questions if you wish. You may proceed however your imagination so desires.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Good day to you. Thank you so much.
Speak up and be bold so that all may hear what you have to share.
This is my first time talking to you directly. And,
What a coincidence. It's our first time with you.
Thank
What are the
you.
odds?
I just want to say thank you. I have several questions.
Well, begin with one. We'll see how far you get.
Okay. I'd like to understand more the different levels of dimension.
Yes.
Would you explain to me, I heard that there's about 7.
Well, there are actually an infinite number of dimensions, but there are certain ones that are relevant for your particular reality, most closely associated vibrationally with your particular reality experience. Thus, then you have the physical reality idea. You have the idea of what you would call the subconscious level, the unconscious level, what you would call the template level reality. Then you have the higher mind reality. Then you have the idea of the individual soul reality. Then you have the idea of the oversoul reality. Then you have the idea of the oversoul of oversouls reality. And you have the idea, in a sense, of what you would call all that is. Now, these can still be, in a sense, broken down into different frequencies, different layers, different levels, as befits or benefits your idea of how you wish to relate to the concept of dimensionality. All it really is a different frequency shift. That's all. Some dimensions in that sense can express themselves physiologically in the way that you are familiar with. Some are non-physical. Some are in the kinds of states that you would find your imagination cannot really comprehend. But nevertheless, it all simply has to do with shifts in frequency. In much the same way, you could say that the idea of ice and the idea of water and the idea of steam, in a sense, are different dimensions of the same substance, but they are experienced in different ways because of the frequency of energy, the vibration of energy within them, in their particular focus. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you. And just like the meditation that we had earlier, it's related to the different parallels.
Yes.
It's kind of the same as dimensions.
Yes. Any different kind of a shift into a different frequency really is a different dimension.
Thank you for your explanation.
Yes.
My next question is, I've heard a lot about Nibiru and Planet X.
Yes.
And Comet Isen. And,
Yes. We have talked about the idea of what you have called your Christmas comet.
Yes.
Again, like anything, it is a reflection of what's going on in your collective consciousness. Thus, then, you can utilize it as a reflection, as a symbol of the shifts and changes you are going through, of the new cycles coming up, and how brightly you decide to shine in those new cycles.
Because there's a lot of talks about destruction and
No. I know there is a lot of talk on your planet about many different kinds of destructive and negative things. And while some versions of Earth will certainly experience those realities, the only real question that is relevant for you is that the reality you prefer or not?
Thank you.
And if it is not, then the idea of focusing on it is what will paradoxically allow you to experience what you say you don't prefer. Allow yourself to recognize that you can observe neutrally that there are a variety of different takes, perspectives, ideas, positive and negative, about how something can be experienced. But once you recognize neutrally that all those different various possibilities or probabilities exist, it's up to you to level them all out, level the playing field, as you say. Allow yourself to validate all of them and thus neutralize all of them so that one doesn't stand out more than the other. And once everything is equal in that sense and everything is valid, then you can simply choose what you prefer without invalidating what you don't. Does that make sense?
Yes, because you can create your own reality.
You
That
are
means-
creating your own reality all the time.
Thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. I'm now not afraid.
Oh, all right. Thank you for choosing your joy instead of your fear. Please remember, it's the same energy. You only have the one kind of energy, in a sense, that is your consciousness. It's simply that you experience it as fear when you filter your energy through belief systems that are out of alignment with your true self, and you feel the very same energy as joy when you filter it through belief systems that are in alignment with your true self. That's how you know whether you have beliefs that are in or out of alignment, is whether you feel the energy as joy or fear. So fear is not to be feared, because fear is a friend. It's a messenger telling you, hey, knock, 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 you have a belief system that's out of alignment with what you prefer to be. And thus then it is bringing that to your attention, and you can say, thank you, fear, you're my friend. I will pay attention to your message and find out what that belief system must be, and then I can change it, I can transform it. It's only when you ignore the knock of fear at your door that it grows louder and stronger and more insistent until you pay attention. You're the one that amplifies it by ignoring it. But if you let it in, if you say, oh, thank you for the message of bringing it to my attention, then fear has been allowed to do its job and it can be on its merry way. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Why, you are so very welcome.
I have a last question.
We will see.
And this is and this is about afterlife.
Yes.
Um,
Now, I understand what you mean by that. We are not contradicting you, but the idea really is to expand your understanding, and by expanding your understanding, you can realize, and we're not saying you can't use the term, but you can realize that there actually really is no such thing as an afterlife. It's just life in different dimensions. It's all life. There's no afterlife because you never end. You understand?
yes.
But I understand you're talking about the idea of non-physical reality.
Yes.
All right.
Because my brother,
Past.
yeah, about 3 years ago,
All right. Well, you understand that he's just fine, yes?
and I want to know that if I talk to him, can he hear me?
Absolutely. In fact, because of the belief systems on your planet, it's a little bit easier for them to hear you than it is for you to hear them. You understand? There's no barriers there in the same way that there are in your physical reality. They don't impose barriers upon themselves. Those barriers drop away, a lot of them, when you're in non-physical reality, in spirit reality. So your world, the physical world, is really very much transparent to them, and if you talk about them, if you even think about them, they'll know about it. They'll get it, they'll get the message, and they send you messages all the time, but the idea is that you don't necessarily know it's always coming from them. Messages from spirit may often appear simply as synchronistic events in your life, because it's easier to get the messages through with things that are already in front of your face, because that's how physical people are focused. And therefore, they are sending love and messages all the time and letting you know that they hear you just fine and that they're perfectly fine. You understand?
Yes, and that someday it's true that we can be together again.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
It's very, very natural in that sense to realize that you form connections, you form bonds, and that you never really, unless you decide to, break those bonds in a sense, or at least have the experience of breaking them. But for the idea of those you love, you will see them in a variety of ways, shapes and forms. And when you, so to speak, pass from the physical to the non-physical, it will be similar to the idea that you experience in physical reality when you wake up from a very vivid dream and say, oh, that felt so real when I was in it, but now I'm awake and I know that this is really who I am. So when you die, it will be similar. It will be like you're waking up and going, well, the physical life was just a dream and this is who I really am. And then you will see that all these beings are here all the time. It's just that you don't perceive them because they're on a different frequency than you allow your senses to perceive. But once you cross that threshold, you can see much farther. You can see in a vaster way, and thus you will perceive those beings, your friends, your family, that are around you all the time that you simply find to be invisible right now. They will become visible again when your senses expand into that realm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much
You
for
are so
taking
very
the time
welcome.
to explain this to me. And now I know that why I'm here is because I need to ask these things about you personally. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good day.
I love you.
Our unconditional love too as well.
Good day, Bashar.
And you good day.
Last time I spoke with you, you said that I have 157 coexisting lives.
That was then.
And yeah. I wonder how many do I have now?
142, 183, 194, 137,
Okay, so it moves
126.
really fast. I thought it was a little lower than that.
It just depends on the purpose for the co-creation of those projections.
So it depends of what kind of reality I'm choosing the next moment?
Yes. Because as you become a new person, each new person has a different number of connections.
I see.
That's relevant to that new person.
Perfect.
That's why we say, when you become a new person, when you know you are a new person every moment, linearly speaking, you also have a new history, a new
Yes.
past, and a new future. Everything goes with each new person. The whole kit is different every single time. And if you know that and know how to use that, then you can experience great transformations, because every transformation and every change is a total change, is a great transformation. It's just that you have to experience it that way. You have to know that that's what's happening to have that experience of it in that way. Make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Perfect. And are you able to tell me how many males and females parts of it at this moment?
This moment?
Yeah.
Or this moment? Or this moment?
The present one now.
Oh, this one? Well, it's gone.
This one. Well, let's fix to this one.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do you need to know?
I just want to make my chart.
You want to make your chart,
Yeah, my
your pin chart,
Yeah, pin
your
chart.
parallel reality
Yes.
incarnation chart.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yes.
Well, again, depending on who you are at any given moment, when you're making the chart will determine how many you perceive. But in general, you will find that you will fluctuate back and forth within a range of about 30 to 40% on either side of 50-50. Do you understand?
Not at the moment.
In other words, think about it as half male, half female. Of course, there are other things as well. So the idea also, though, is that within that window of 20% on each side, for each person, you are generally fluctuating back and forth between those two particular expressions within that window range of about 40% of 20% on either side of center. So sometimes you may find yourself 60% male and 40% female.
Oh, I
You
see.
may find yourself 60% female and 40% male. You understand? It'll fluctuate
Yes.
depending on who you are at any given moment. But you seem to be staying within a general window range of an overall fluctuation of about 40%, 20% on either side of center.
I see.
Does that make sense to you?
Not fully at the moment.
Oh,
but
all right.
Later on, I'm sure it will.
Well, don't be so sure.
Maybe not. Yeah, you're right. And
But if you will allow yourself to do the pin chart, you may find that as you're doing the pin chart, this will become clearer to you.
great.
And
How many counterparts of myself I have encountered physically in my lifetime?
3.
I thought it was more than that. What's the difference, for example, as you say, there is counterpart and there is a reflection of someone. What's
Yes.
the difference, for example? Because in a sense, everybody can be my counterpart.
Yes, but vibrationally speaking, colloquially speaking, the idea of a counterpart is someone in your particular extension, someone in the oversoul extension of which you are also an extension, having a simultaneous concurrent incarnation overlapping yours. Whereas the idea of anyone else may not necessarily be an oversoul extension.
I see.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Is there anyone in this room that is
Nope.
my counterpart? Okay.
And even if there were, I wouldn't tell you.
Okay, so you can tell even if I... Okay, I was about to ask who it was, my counterpart.
Like I said, even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. because we would
Right.
be intervening in a process you need to discover on your own.
Okay. And can you tell me that I'll be, how many more I would encounter in the future?
You have
can't
the
because it's
potential
probably
to run
right.
across about 7 more.
7 more. During my lifetime?
Well, isn't that what you were asking?
Yes, yes, it is. And do I have any hybrid children?
You have a few.
I feel.
I'm not going to tell you how many.
Okay. And I'm going to see them physically in
Maybe.
this lifetime?
We don't know. Those decisions haven't been made fully yet. There is a high degree of probability, somewhere between 70 to 87%, but those decisions haven't been made fully yet.
Cool. And one more question.
Are you checking a list?
Yes, I have many questions.
Oh, all right.
But can I take a ride on your ship? I mean,
I
in a
don't
dream.
know, can you?
Yes. Absolutely.
I will open the door and let you aboard if you have a ladder that is 1,875 miles high.
I do.
Well then, I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Bashar. I appreciate it.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
I had a question about parallel realities
Well, that's a good synchronistic topic for today.
because there's certain ones that I feel like I definitely cross connect to,
Yes.
and then I run into people who have some sort of psi ability, and they start telling me
Yes.
about all these other, I guess, parallel realities that they see, and I'm like sitting there like it doesn't mean anything to me.
Then it's not relevant for you at that moment. Even if they are accurately perceiving something, you may not perceive it if it's not relevant for you in the particular moment of your process.
Okay, because when I tell them that, they get really kind of like upset that I'm not, but I'm like, it doesn't, I mean,
They get what?
it's like me telling them I don't believe them, and it's not like I don't believe them, it doesn't resonate with
All
me.
right, well, you can just say that. Well, thank you very much for your information. It doesn't resonate with me right now, or it doesn't feel relevant to me right now, but I will keep it in mind, and who knows what I will run across in the rest of my life. So
But-
thank you for your input. I do cherish it, and I will see if relevancy comes into my life with any of the information you have shared with me.
So they're just seeing things that but the parallel realities that they're seeing, those are actual realities. I just am not.
They are probably seeing actual realities, but the degree of relevance may not necessarily be for you what it is for them.
Okay.
Remember that even as they are giving you the information, there may be a high degree of relevancy for why they are picking up on what they are picking up on for them, maybe even sometimes more than you. And in a sense, the irony there is that because they have seen you and are responding to you and getting information based on your presence in their life, you may actually be doing the reading for them by allowing them to perceive what they're perceiving because you're the catalyst for it. Even though they may think they're reading you, they may actually be reading for themselves. And you're just acting as a mirror. You have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
And the only real measure to go by is if it doesn't feel relevant for you right now, then just let it slide for the moment.
Okay, I think I got what you said. So they're seeing something, but it might not be relevant for me, but it's definitely relevant for them.
Well, it may be relevant in some sense for both of you, but not necessarily in the way they may think, not to the degree they may think. The idea, of course, is that there are no accidents, and if you're talking to each other, there is relevance for both of you on some level, even if only that someone is getting a little something out of it by at least helping the other get more out of it. But again, you have to take it on a case-by-case basis as to exactly what direction the greater degree of relevance is in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So all you have to do is just check your own personal self and say, well, that's interesting. Doesn't feel resonant or relevant at the moment, but thank you very much. I will keep it in mind and see what happens.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Because again, remember, there is no such thing as a non-reality, so anything you can imagine and anything you can perceive, is somewhere, somehow, on some level, a real experience. But again, just because somebody perceives something that they think they're perceiving about you doesn't necessarily mean that it has the same degree of relevance for you that telling you has for them.
Great. So actually, that was a perfect segue.
Oh, all right.
To my
Thank you
next
for your
question.
synchronicity.
I was reading this fictional book last night, and it mentioned Mary Tatan, who was the daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti from Egypt a long time ago.
Yes.
And it all of a sudden dawned on me that is there some connection between the Dogon people and Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and Mary Tatan?
There is some connection. Some of it has to do with genetics from the Sirius star system.
Right. So did the Dogon, right, because the Sirius people came down to Dogon, and there's a legend about
Yes.
twins and all that.
Yes.
So did the Dogon people migrate into Egypt and then become part of Egyptian royalty?
No,
No, not that way.
not that way.
Which-
Earlier, much, much earlier.
Like how early?
Between 50 and 100,000 years earlier.
That was Atlantean times?
Some of that existed at the same time, but we are talking about something different. We are talking about an incursion of Sirius genetics on your planet at that time
Into Dogon and Egypt at the same time?
into what became Dogon and Egypt and Atlantis and several other things.
And when those are when the Sirius people first came to planet Earth?
Not first, but it was an early one.
Early one? Like, I'm getting fifth?
There have been 5, that's what you're perceiving.
Okay,
This was approximately third.
third. But they're, oh, so not the first, not the third.
Yes,
So-
not the first, not the second, not the fourth, not the fifth. Let's see, what's left?
So what was the first? Was that would have to have been before Lemurian.
Quite a bit.
And
It had to do
I prob-
somewhat with what you now recognize as the Anunnaki incursion or infusion. Because Sirius energy was to some degree a part of that, though not in necessarily the way you might think.
yeah, I would never have thought that.
Yes, well, we will extend our apologies for being a little bit obtuse about this, but we are not allowed to say much.
Okay. I'll figure it out, because I always do, so.
You will figure out what is relevant for you.
Right.
The rest of it will remain a mystery to you.
So I won't figure the whole thing out?
No, you will not.
Because it's not relevant?
Correct.
Okay, I can deal with that. And my third question is, I never thought I had hybrid children, but when I was listening to your transmission in Phoenix, I believe, in the 33rd parallel transmission,
Yes.
one of the questioners said something, and all of a sudden I got that I did,
Yes. But
they're not like what I would consider children. I mean, they're not, I don't think I have like egg children, if you know what I mean.
the idea, when we usually give the answer, is that there may be a certain percentage of genetic material from any particular single individual on your planet that has been utilized in the creation of a
Right.
certain number of hybrid beings. And we usually use that percentage of about 15% as a demarcation, so that above that, in a sense, they could be considered, at least to some degree, to be your children. Below that, the mixture is too diluted, in a sense, to be considered your children personally, vibrationally, even though you may still have something to do with it. Does that make sense?
So do I have children above the 15%?
Yes.
And I don't know if this is true or not, so I'd like your confirmation. About a couple years ago, when I was in Los Angeles for one of the transmissions, and I found out that there was this hybrid children Facebook, all of a sudden I think it was Elle or Ellie was talking about that. All of a sudden I got that they could see through my eyes.
Well, in some senses, they can use the vibrational connection of the genetic material to have a point of view that is somewhat yours in order to teach them the acclimatization to your society. They have to understand your perspective. I believe the colloquialism on your planet is walking in your shoes.
Well, because right after that, all of a sudden I had to go to like places like the California Academy of Sciences.
Yes.
And I got that it's this big.
Excuse me one moment. They are laughing. They didn't necessarily want to make you feel like a probe.
No, I didn't feel like a probe. I just felt like they wanted to look at the fishies and.
Yes, yes, yes. But in that sense, they were sort of using you as a probe.
No, not that. What is that?
It means they're sending you around to look at things so they can absorb the information through your energy.
Right, and they really liked the Diebenkorn exhibit for some reason, too. It was an art exhibit, and they liked all the color. Even though
Yes.
I'm not normally a Diebenkorn fan, they really got into it.
Well, this is what it feels like, in a sense, to connect to other tastes that you can tell are not your own, but that are strongly urgent within you.
Yeah, because I've never been a Diebenkorn fan, and then all of a sudden I'm like staring at all the Diebenkorn paintings, and then I got, okay, this isn't me, this is them, that's fine. And
All
then,
right. Here it comes,
What,
the message.
what message?
Thanks, Mom. Thanks for the education.
Does that mean they also want to go to the ballet and opera, too?
That's not all, but it's up to you. It really is.
And they really like when I go to the exploratorium
Yes,
thing. They
yes.
love the space thing. And
They want to understand what you understand,
Okay.
so they can understand how they will fit in.
Can I also hear them? Because
Sometimes you might have auditory sensations
they,
of them.
they
Yes.
say mother, which kind of freaks me out because I don't.
Why does it freak you out?
I didn't think I never actually wanted to have children in this physical life. I never had that urge.
In some senses, that's because you knew you already had them.
Okay.
Does that freak you out too?
Well, when I first found out I might, it kind of did. I will say that only because
Hey, your mom's a freak.
I think they already know that. Well, and then it was like, okay, fine. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe that's, even though I never physically wanted to have children, I've been coming up with all these children name combinations, which
Yes.
I always thought was kind of odd for someone that didn't actually want to have children.
Now you know how it's not so odd.
Yeah, I put all that. Okay, so my last question is, I also got that I may have a cryptic child.
Not in the way you mean it directly, but there is some connection to the cryptics we will not go into. This is for another time.
The one that lives on Maui?
This is for another time.
Okay.
And
All
it
right.
is not in what you would call your time frame.
No, I know that. I know that.
All right.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.